Hi guys, welcome back to my YouTube channel. My name is Judy Buenoano, and hi, welcome to True Crime by Jules, and welcome to another episode of Enigma by Jules. So guys, today's case is obviously a very crazy one, and it's a long case, hopefully not that long, but yeah, today's case is crazy and it's a known case. So before we go into this video, please, if you're not subscribed to my channel, kindly subscribe to my channel, like this video, and comment if you have any case you want me to work on. I'll really be appreciative. Thank you. And yeah, so we're going to talk about Judy Buenoano. I really don't know how to pronounce her name, but yeah, I even tried using Google to pronounce her name and I still couldn't get it. So Judy Buenoano, but I'm just going to call her Judy in the case of this story. So Judy Buenoano, her birth name was Judys Wealthy, and she was born in Texas in 1942. Her father was an itinerary worker, while her mom, who was also named Judys, just was a stay-at-home mom. So unfortunately, her mom died of tuberculosis when she was 2 years, so she didn't have that much experience with her mom. But her father, on the other hand, he was not willing to raise his children, so he put her two older siblings up for adoption, while her and her brother, he sent them to go and stay with their grandparents till 1955. So around this time, her dad got married, and when her dad got married, they were later sent to go and stay with their dad and their stepmom. Things got unfortunate for Judy and her brother. Things didn't go as planned. Her dad and her stepmom were very abusive towards them. They would beat them. Sometimes they would burn cigarettes on her, and they would refuse to feed her, until one day when she was 14 years, my girl snapped. She snapped. She got so angry. She punched her stepmom and she punched her dad. She kicked them. Then she poured hot grease onto her stepbrothers. So when this happened, her dad was like, you know what, I can't even deal with this any longer. Do you know what, I'm going to call the police on your earth. So her dad called police for her. So the police came, they took her, they sent her to 60 days in jail. Even though she was a minor at this time, they sent her to an adult's jail. And when it was up, the judge now asked her if she wanted to go home, but she was like, no, she was not going to go home, because she knew that if she goes home, that the case was going to be worse and the abuse was not going to stop. So the judge was like, okay, they were going to send her to a reform school. So they sent her to a reform school for 2 years. In 1959, she graduated. After her graduation, Judy, she returned to Roswell, but she refused to have anything to do with her family, and then she found a nurse as a nursing assistant under a false name, Anna Schultz. I really don't know. Anna Schultz. So no one actually knows how she came about this name or why she came about this name, but she was still using the name till she became pregnant. So like, she became pregnant actually. She became pregnant and she gave birth to her first son, who she named Michael. Nobody knows who Michael's father is, although some people suspect that Michael's father was an army man, but like nobody knows who Michael's father is. So she gave birth to Michael in March 1961. So when Michael was still an infant, Judy started dating an Air Force official named James Goodyear. So when she was dating James Goodyear, on January 21st, 1962, they actually got married. And when they got married, Judy now became pregnant for him and now gave birth to another boy, whom she named after her husband at that time, James. And everything was going okay, everything was going fine. James Goodyear decided to legally adopt Michael as his own son. After he legally adopted Michael, Judy became pregnant again, and then she gave birth to her third child, who was a girl, and she named this girl Kim. So now she had 3 children, 2 for James Goodyear and 1 from her whoever she got pregnant from. She never told anybody till now. So the 3 of them were living happily. In 1968, Judy and James, the whole family, they had moved to Orlando. And when they moved to Orlando, Judy opened a childcare center for them to run as a business. In 1970, James was sent to Vietnam and he stayed a year there. And in 1971, he came back home to his house. But this guy thought he escaped or he survived Vietnam. He didn't even know that his problem was closer to home. He didn't know that. Anyways, he had only been in the US for a few months when he became very ill. He was very ill. He was then admitted to the US Naval Hospital in Orlando, but doctors, they just couldn't determine what was wrong with him. They had searched, they had carried out searches, they had checked everything, but they could not determine what was wrong with him. He had nausea, he had numbness in his hands and feet, he was throwing up. He then started hallucinating. Even a niece of his said that they saw him like clenching or clutching at the air, and he was saying that there are rabbits in his bed. So like this guy was going through a lot, but like nobody actually even suspected what was going on. Like the doctors, they had tried, but like obviously they could not have gotten what was going on. So 5th of September 1971, James Goodyear died. So when James Goodyear died, Judy appeared to be very upset about his sudden death. She was crying, blah blah blah, but this woman had already taken like 3 life insurance policies on her husband that she filed just 5 days after his death. A couple months later, their home mysteriously caught fire, and when her home caught fire, she now collected an insurance of $90,000. And after this, they decided to change their environment, and she packed up her kids and then she moved to Pensacola. So when she moved to Pensacola, she met Bobby. But wait, is it just me, or these female serial killers, they just have a way of bagging people? Like no matter how they look, I don't know, I can't even get a text back, I can't even keep a fucking relationship. But this woman, she just knew, and she didn't just bag any other man. She bagged the rich ones, the ones that had money. That's the one she was bagging. Even like with children, like it's just so, especially around that time when people did not really see women who had children outside wedlock, or who had children before they met them, did not see them as valuable, which is not a good thing. But this woman had her ways, man. She bagged men, actually, honestly speaking. And I think like, okay, we are diverting. In 1972, Judy, she met Bobby's in Pensacola. Judy met Bobby. Guys, I just have my heart broken, and I'm trying so hard not to cry because like my heart is shattered. But let's go on. In Pensacola, Judy, she met Bobby's Joe Morris in 1972, and then the next few years were very uneventful for Judy. Bobby moved to Trinidad in Colorado in 1977, and Judy planned to move in with him, but she decided to remain in Florida for a few months to take care of some things. So while she was in Florida, mysteriously, when Bobby left the States and went to Colorado, mysteriously the house that they stayed in caught fire. And of course, this woman, she took a payout from her insurance and she had the money. And once she had money, she was like, okay, you know what, let's move with Bobby, let's move down to Colorado and stay with Bobby. So her and her 3 children, they moved to Colorado to stay with Bobby. Judy had only been in Colorado for a few months when Bobby started to get ill. Just like how James Goodyear was getting ill, that's how Bobby started to get ill, and he needed to be hospitalized. So he went to the hospital, as the other doctors did, how they treated her former husband. They treated him. They could not like find anything that was wrong with him. He had nausea, he had diarrhea, and he had excruciating pain in his chest. So like it was, the doctors, they tried their very best, but they could not just pin down what was wrong with him. They are taking out test upon test, but like obviously, so after he spent 2 days in the hospital, he started to feel much better. And then when he started to feel much better, they discharged him and sent him to his house, not knowing that his home was his problem. So once he got home, he started becoming more ill and everything, became more sick and everything. And they sent him back to the hospitals, but doctors could not determine what was wrong with him. So to the hospital staff, Judy, she appeared to be this devoted partner who was always by the side of her husband every single time. But little did they know that this woman was bringing fresh punch to her husband's side every day, laced with arsenic. And not only did she bring this punch to him, she was forcing him to drink it even if he didn't want to drink it. She would literally open up his mouth and pour the punch inside and close it back so that he would drink this thing. And finally, in January 1978, Bobby had died. And who else is noticing? Like, there are so many January dates in this story, and I'm very uncomfortable because I was born January, so I'm like, too many January dates. Anyways, even though his family, they were not sure about the autopsy that was done on Bobby, and they needed an extensive autopsy because they actually suspected his girlfriend. I don't think they were married. They actually suspected Judy, but the hospital, they had actually pronounced his cause of death to be cardiac arrest. Again, like she had done before, she had taken out insurance policies under her husband and she filed them immediately after his death. And when she received the payout in February, nothing else was keeping her in Colorado. So her and her children, they moved back to Pensacola. So on the 3rd of May 1978, she legally changed her name from Judy Wilf, what her name was before, to Judy Buenoano, which was the Spanish version of James Goodyear, like Goodyear. So she changed it to the end to Judy Buenoano. She legally changed her surname to Buenoano, her first husband, and nobody actually knows why she actually did this. So Judy's elder son Michael, he decided to take after his father's footstep, like his adopted father's footstep, and join the army. So in June 1979, he decided to join the army, and after he had completed basic training, he was assigned to go to Fort Benning in Georgia. So he had a few days free and he just thought, okay, let me just go and spend some time with my family. Little did he know that this was going to be a wrong move. When he decided to pay his visit to his mom actually poisoned her son with a large amount of arsenic. But what surprised the mom was that he did not succumb to the poison. I mean, like, young blood. Anyways, after some time, he actually fell ill, but obviously he had few days. You guys know how the army is. He had few days of like, you know what, I'm still going to go back to base. So he drove himself to base, and when he went back to base, it was so evident that something was wrong. So the doctors there, they recognized that, yeah, he was poisoned with a large amount of arsenic, but nobody traced it to Judy. Even him, he didn't trace it to Judy, because the last person you're actually even going to think about that would want to hurt you would be your mom. Then he was diagnosed with heavy metal neuropathy, and this made him have no nerve or muscles in his hands or feet. Guys, I'm so sorry for the background noises. At this point, they're irritating me. Like, do you understand? So anyways, Michael, he spent 3 more months undergoing treatment at Walter Reed Hospital, and then he was transferred to a hospital in Tampa so that he would be closer to home while he was still undergoing this treatment. So if only Mama knew what was going to happen to him, I feel like he wouldn't have even asked or requested to be transferred back to Tampa to stay close to his mom or close to home, because at the end of the day, you don't want to suspect your mom, if you know what I'm talking about. So his legs and his arms were fitted with prosthetic devices, and even with this, he could not walk very well. His mobility was limited. So on 12th of May 1980, Michael was discharged from the Veterans Administration Hospital in Tampa, and Judy came to pick him up. And Judy was like, see ya, I spent like $40K to make sure that my son will be comfortable at home, so don't worry. I'm very, because the hospital staff were like, be cautious of his limitation, because like, obviously he's not how he used to be. I should like, don't worry about that. I spent like $40K at my house just to make sure he feels comfortable, and I renovated the house to make the whole place accommodate him and make him better. So obviously the hospital staff, they had nothing to worry about, because obviously, like I said before, this was his mom. So they later discharged him to his mother. Just one day of picking Michael, Judy decided to take her 3 children for a fishing trip at the East River, which was close to where they were staying. So when they went to the river, Kim was on the shore, while Judy, Michael, and James, they got on the boat. Even though this boat or this canoe was a 2-seater, Judy had brought out a folding lawn chair and she had instructed her son Michael to sit in it. Michael, on the other hand, was very happy to go on this fishing trip with his mom, because obviously, like, he just saw it as a form of relief, because you know, he's been in the hospital, he's been through a lot. All of a sudden he can't work, he can't do anything, so he was excited to go on this fishing trip. So he just sat on it, he did as his mom said he should do. The three of them, they had fished for like about an hour, and at this point they were about a mile from their starting point, and before you know it, the boat had capsized. And Judy, she actually had an explanation for this. So according to her, let me tell you, like, this explanation that she had changed about 1,000,000 times. So according to her, the canoe had hit like a submerged log and it had capsized. Or is it capsized? I always say that. Is it capsized or capsized? And it had capsized. Guys, I really don't know English, even though it's my first language, but I don't know. Sometimes it tends to confuse me. After this, she said that a snake had gotten into the boat and she was trying to use the paddle to hold the snake down, and it made the boat capsize. But then, like, where did this snake come from? Like, please someone let me know. Is it from the sky? Because I don't know. Anyways, whatever the story was, it was that at the end of the day, Michael, because of all the braces that he wore, the metal braces, Michael had gotten into the river and he got sunk in the river. And obviously there was no way that he was going to come up alive. So Judy, she also said that she saw James, her other son, floating with his face down, and she actually quickly moved to clear his airways and bring him back to consciousness. But other sources said that it was a man named Ricky who actually brought him back to life, but like two sources in one. Anyways, it was then later, after everything, she now told Ricky, she was like, see, I have another son in the water, he wore braces and everything. And Ricky's like, why are you just mentioning it now? If you have another son, like, you should have mentioned it soon. So Ricky, like, he got into the water to see if he could help bring his son, but obviously he couldn't, so he had to go and call for help. So as Judy was about to go and call for help, as Ricky was about to go and call for help, this woman, guess what she did? She asked Ricky for a beer, let her drink while he went to go and call for help. And Ricky saw this as suspicious, because like, why would your son be in water and your son is literally either dead or about to die or is drowning, and the first thing you care about is beer? How does that make sense? Anyways, so Ricky just looked at her in a very suspicious way. I'm sure you guys will be asking, who is Ricky? I forgot to tell you guys who Ricky is, or who Ricky was. So Ricky was a man that was also fishing in the river too. So he was fishing, but like, he had not seen when the accident had taken place, but like, he approached the capsized canoe, and when he approached the capsized canoe, that was when Judy had told him the story about the snake falling inside the canoe and how she tried to use her paddle to, you know, hold the snake, and that's how the boat capsized. I don't know how strong she must have been that she had to use her paddle. So as she was explaining this, she didn't seem to get upset. Like, let's take it back to when she told Ricky about her son being in the water. She was not upset that she had her son in the water. And after she told Ricky about Michael, like I said, she described his condition to him, and she did not even seem upset, she did not seem bothered, she did not seem worried that like she had her son inside. Instead, she was more concerned about James, and James being, you understand, conscious. And according to James, he said that he lost his memory, he can't remember anything, which I do not believe. So anyways, when they came out to the shore, it was James, Judy, and the people, Ricky, and I think the helpers, and Kim. Like I said, Kim was sitting on shore, and when Kim saw her mom, she did not even look surprised. She didn't even ask for her elder brother. She just, you know, she just continued her normal business. Like, she did not even look surprised. So people were assuming that, you know, there may be a possibility that the three of them, like the two of them, had known that Michael was not going to come back with them, or he was not going to come back alive with them. Another thing was that although Judy, she was asked if Michael was wearing a life jacket when he was on the canoe or on the boat, she was like, yeah, that he was wearing a life jacket. When they brought Michael's body, he was not wearing a life jacket. Anyways, Michael's doctor, they were very concerned, because they were like, the way he was, like, he had no nerve, he could not feel anything, he was numb in his hands and his feet, and he was wearing braces, metal braces. There was no way he would have been able to fish or hold a fishing line or a fishing hook. There was no reason for him to have even been in the water. Even though he was excited, it's your duty as a mom to tell him, like, see, this is not going to work anyways. So like, he could not even swim or even cast a fishing line. So they were like quite suspicious, but obviously there was no evidence to actually prove that it was her that did it. Do you understand? Because it would be like, maybe it's just a mom wanting to, you know. And again, like, it was her version that said that, oh, Michael was excited. What if he was not excited? What if he was forced to do it? We didn't even think about that because it's her own version. Anyways, people who knew about Michael and also knew Judy, they started to speak behind Judy's back, but obviously the police, they just took her own account as evidence and they just closed the case on Michael. And as usual, like, Michael was in the military, so obviously he had several life insurances. And this woman, once Michael had died, she had taken all the life insurances that Michael had on him. Some of these life insurances included when Michael was a child and he had obtained that one through military, and Judy was, you know, the sole beneficiary of all of them. So she collected $100,000 when Michael died. Like, literally, I don't understand. You pushed out a child, the whole pain, taking care of him, breastfeeding, everything, and at the end of the day, like, you killed him. Like, I don't know, some people, they just scare me. Like, they scare the hell out of me. So Judith, she used the majority of her child's life insurance to open a nail and hair salon in Pensacola. Like, that is literally blood money. Like, you guys, you understand how, like, you go to do your nails, don't mean that this is a result of a killing. She also purchased a Corvette and also some expensive jewelry for herself. In February 1981, she started dating another man, and this man's name was John Gentry. Let me tell you, like I said, this woman, these serial killers, they always find someone. Like, how did they always find someone. John was a very successful businessman. Like, he was very successful, and obviously Judy was just attracted to his money. She didn't even care about him. In order to impress John, she told John that she had a PhD in biochemistry and psychology, and she also claimed that she was a head nurse in one of the area hospital. And despite all of this, John obviously believed her, but like, my own is like, you believe that she was all this. I could not stop and ask, why are you spending your whole day in your nail salon? I'm not saying that, oh, you cannot have two businesses even when you have an entrepreneurship, even when you have like a job as a head nurse. But like, if you're a head nurse and you have a nail and hair salon, why are you spending most of your days in the nail salon? Do you understand? Him, I feel like funny enough, the nonchalant one, the people that are so nonchalant, they're actually the ones that actually get away with a lot of things. I don't know if that makes sense. I have a friend, she's kind of nonchalant, and like, life just boom boom boom. Like, the nonchalant ones, they're actually the ones who actually, you know, get away with a lot of things. So anyways, he was like, oh, okay, he was in love. He actually did love Judy. So during the time they were dating, he showered her with gifts, with expensive vacations. Judy, she now moved in with her children to go and stay with John in August, and after they dated for 6 months, she actually convinced him to take a life insurance on each other. And John, he was so in love, he decided to take a $50,000 life insurance, but he did not know that Judy had gone behind his back to take $500,000 to change the 50. This woman, the $50,000, she like added another zero to the end, so she had increased this life insurance from $50,000 to $500,000. In December, John was so sick that he had to be hospitalized in the hospital. Is that good English? In December, John was so sick that he had to be hospitalized for 12 days in the... Is that an English? I feel like saying John was hospitalized in the hospital. Anyways, he was admitted in the hospital for 12 days because he was very, very sick. Doctors, they could not determine what was wrong with John. They had tried everything, but they could not determine what was wrong with John. And Judy, on the other hand, she had recently given him some vitamin capsules which she claimed were good for his health. And John, he took this without any question, because obviously his wife, his woman, is a head nurse, so like he believed her. And whenever he took these vitamins, he found out that he was very nauseous, but whenever he went to the hospital, he actually felt okay. So there was a time that he began to refuse taking these vitamins, and Judy should stand her ground and she would make sure that he took the vitamins. So one day he pretended like he took the vitamins, but then when he acted like he took the vitamins, he took it out and then he put it at the zippered pocket of his briefcase. And this is what he did for like 6 months. So for 6 months, this guy was pretending to take the vitamins, and he did not take the vitamins. And he discovered that when he stopped taking his vitamins, he actually felt so much better and he felt okay. He didn't feel sick. So on June 25th, 1983, Judith had arranged a dinner party at the Driftwood restaurant in Pensacola, and here she had actually told John that she was pregnant for his child. And John was so happy. And Judy, on the other hand, she arrived to this restaurant in a separate car from her man, because her man had to come from work and meet her there while she came from home, whatever. So she had told John that when they went to the restaurant, she had told John that John should park at a particular spot. And John was, first of all, he was iffy as to like why should he park at a particular spot, but then again, like he was like, you know what, let me just do as she said. So he parked at that spot and everything. And John, on the other hand, is just excited. Oh my god, he's going to have a child of his own. The woman that he's in love with, she's pregnant, she's going to give birth to a child. So as the party was winding down that evening, Judith, she asked John that John should run to a liquor store and get champagne so that they will celebrate their newborn or their upcoming child. They'll celebrate the news together when they get home in private. And John, he was so excited. He quickly rushed and he went to his car. But wait, first of all, like, let's rewind. When you're pregnant, do you take alcohol? Is there any champagne that doesn't have alcohol? Because like when you're pregnant, do you take alcohol? I don't want to say why didn't he think of this, but at the end of the day, like when you're so happy, things like that don't even matter. Anyways, so he ran to his car to, you know, go to the liquor store. So when he ran to his car, once he put his key in the ignition, the car just boom, like the car the car burst, like the car exploded. I think that's the word. The car just exploded, and everybody, like when it exploded, like it shook the whole environment and everywhere, and everybody came out to, oh my god, see what was going on. And like when they came, Judy too, she came out to see what was going on. But my girl was so surprised, because she was like, huh, this guy is alive. Like, how is this guy alive? But when she saw, she was so surprised that he was alive. And then she just started to put up a show. She was crying. She ran to him. She was rubbing his head, assuring him, saying, oh my god, I love you. Oh my god, thank god you didn't die, blah 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 blah. So they took him to the hospital. So when they went to the hospital, for 1 month he was in intensive care, and then for the other 2 months they had taken him down to like a step down unit. And the police actually really wanted to investigate him, but they knew how severe this man almost died. Like he was literally bombed. He survived a bomb accident, a bomb attack. What am I saying? He survived a bomb attack. So the police, they like wanted to interview him, but obviously they had to be very careful because he was not feeling fine and he was in a critical condition. But they wanted to do this as soon as possible so that he would not die on them and another person will not be a victim. These people can be selfish, like this one just literally survived. Like, give this man a breather, give him space to breathe. Like, do you understand? Anyways, they came to him, they asked him, they were like, do you think there's anybody that would want to harm you or things like that? And then that is when he remembered that he's been very sick for some time, and then his mind went back to when his wife, or they were not married, when Judy used to give him these vitamin capsules. And then he was like, yeah, there was a time she used to give me these vitamin capsules, and I actually stopped taking them for 6 months and I felt okay. And actually I have 2 in my zipper pocket of my briefcase. So police was like, you know what, let's go and do some tests, run some tests on it. So they sent it to the FBI lab to do some testing while they continued to interrogate and investigate the whole situation. And at the other hand, they were looking into Judith because they think that there was an ulterior motive for this. So they found a corrosive substance in the vitamin pill that Judy always gave to her boyfriend, to John. And the name, I don't know how to pronounce it, so I'm just going to like read it out. The name of the corrosive substance they found in the capsule was paraformaldehyde. I really don't know how to pronounce it. Paraformaldehyde, and is a corrosive substance that's related to formaldehyde, which is very lethal even in relatively small doses. So this guy literally survived, honestly speaking. But like, how come the doctors didn't actually even like, you know, like think about that? I don't know, like, why, how come they did not find anything? Because I'm like, why are you a doctor? Anyways, that was then. But 1980 something was just like literally like, do you understand? 1961, my dad was like born in 1960s and he's even up to 70 years. So like 1980 something was just, after 1980, I was born 1990. So like, I'm like, yeah, no, technology has changed, but like, how come they didn't even find, like, they did not even, you know? But anyways, that's the story for another day. So when investigators, when they found this and found the substance that was in the vitamin capsules, they actually started investigating Judy, and then they started interviewing Judy's friends and people and co-workers, and they actually learned that around the time that Judy was administering these vitamins to John, she had told people that John was diagnosed of a terminal illness and that he was going to die soon. And around that time, they had found out, she had told her co-workers that her and her 2 children, that they had booked a around the world cruise, and she had not even purchased tickets for John. So it was very obvious that she had expected that John would have died by then, and then her and her children, they were going to travel the world. So it was clear that, you know, that this woman has been in, you understand, she has been the one behind all these things. But obviously that was not enough reason to arrest her. And also they had also, during the investigation, they had found out that she had no advanced degree and she was never ever the head of any nursing department. And what even shocked John the most was that my sis was not pregnant. Actually 10 years prior, she had actually even tied her womb up, so there was no way in hell she would have gotten pregnant. So all this broke John's heart, because like, my man was in love and he was really in love, just found out that the person that he gave his heart to, he was so much in love with, like, planned to, you know, kill him. Like, I think that's the worst thing that can ever happen. Someone you love, like, give your whole heart to, planning to kill you, like, or killing you. I know it happens like frequently now, but like, I just pray that we never find ourselves in such situation, because you just don't know. And when you're dead, you're dead. Like, you can't even come back to life. Like, off topic, but like, when I was younger, I used to be like, why is it that when you're dead, you're dead? Like, why can't our life be like battery, you know? When battery runs down, you can charge it up again. Do you understand? Like, I think that if you die, you come back to life. I think that because of the story of Lazarus, but then you grow up, you're like, when you're dead, you're dead. Like, when you're dead, you're dead. And again, that off-topic discussion, I just read on Twitter this morning, my friend sent it to me, of a girl who was pregnant for a guy, and this guy first, he didn't want the child, and then he now said, she was like, I'm going to keep this baby. And when she said she was going to keep, all of a sudden this guy was very friendly and he was like, oh, I'm going to support you. But then he was like poisoning her stealthily. She was bleeding, like the child even had something happened to the child before the child was even 12 weeks in the belly, so the child had a dysfunction, I don't know, in the brain or something, I can't remember, I don't want to misquote what she put, but yeah, this guy has literally, he forces her to take pills, he would change her pills just to find out that this guy has been messing with her just so she will not give birth to that child, and he was pretending. Like, just imagine. And she told this guy, she was like, if you don't want to be a part of this child's life, fine, but like I'm going to be with my child. Like, she gave this guy ultimatum, like, it's not any, I'm not going to force you to be in the child's life. If you wanted to leave, you would have left. But like, it's just wild. Like, the people that we are with in this, we should just pray that we find good people. Like, do you understand? Yeah. So now let's go back to the story. So like I said, all this was not enough reason for Judy to get arrested. So with the help of federal authorities, they were able to trace the dynamite back to one of Judy's friends in Alabama, and in an attempt for him to like get himself out of the whole situation, he was like, that was actually stolen a few months ago before the explosion of the car, so I don't know where it went to. But police found out that during their phone records that leading up to that time, like, her and this friend of hers, they were in constant communication until the day of the bombing. So obviously police did not buy that. So police, they were certain that, oh yeah, Judy was, you know, responsible for the bombing. So they obtained a search warrant and they went to her house to search her house. And when they went to search her house, they found out that the tape and the wire that was found in the bombing, they were actually identical to what was in her house, and it was, do you understand? And then they went to James's room, and when they went to James' room, they found marijuana, and they also found a sort of shotgun in James' room. So this was enough for them to arrest both Judy and James. So they arrested the two of them. They arrested James for the possession of an illegal weapon and drugs, and they also arrested Judy for attempted murder. Guys, I love the way I say murder, like murder. I just love the way I say murder, like murder. So before I used to feel kind of like, why am I saying murder? But like, think about it, I like it. People say they like the way I speak, I don't know. I don't like the way I speak, but then again, why am I drifting? Why am I drifting? Anyways, let's continue. So Judy, she was actually able to make bail because like she was faced on bail, so she was actually able to make bail of attempted murder charge, but that did not last for long because she was brought back to jail, man. And then investigations, they continued. They were interviewing like people who knew Judy, and then that's when they learned about the death of her son, her boyfriend, her first husband, and how they all died of this sudden death. So they were concerned that they were dealing with a possible serial killer. Because they were concerned that they were dealing with a possible serial killer, they decided to look at how they all died, how Bobby had died, how James Goodyear had died, and they found out that they all died like sudden death. And in January 11th, 1984, she was also charged with first-degree murder of her son Michael, and also she was also charged with grand theft pertaining to the life insurance payouts that she had received from her son. So things here were not looking like good for Judith and everything. And when Judy was sent back to jail, this woman, she thought she was wise. She actually faked an epileptic episode. And obviously the police, they knew she was lying, but you know, they had to like observe protocol and send her to the hospital. And when they went to the hospital, the doctor was like, oh my god, there's nothing wrong with her, please send her back to jail. So she stayed barely a day in the hospital and she was sent back to prison to continue the investigation. So but wait, I'm just thinking, like, how did she fake an you know how epileptic people, like, how they do, like, how did she fake an epileptic episode? That is very insulting. And how did she do it without, like, with a straight face? Like, if I was there and I saw that she was faking this episode, I would have known she was lying, and trust me, I would have burst out laughing. But anyways, she's dramatic, honestly, very dramatic. Like, at least fake fainting, epilepsy, like really. Anyways, on February 11th 1984, Bobby Joe's body was actually exhumed and it was tested for poisoning, and the following month the body of her first husband, James Goodyear, was also exhumed, and tests actually determined that both men, they had died from arsenic poisoning, which is so sad. Like, especially for James was such a good man. He adopted her child, he loved her, you understand? Like, he went for war, he survived this war for like a year and was like, you know what, let me just come back home and stay with my family and just be happy, and not knowing that his family was going to be the source of his problem. Like, so on March 22nd 1984, Judy, she actually went on trial for her son Michael, which is so sad. She killed her son. That's the one that really broke my heart. Like, down the line, I'm going to tell you guys something, like, in this case, that actually also broke my heart, because I'm like, what the actual, like, how could you? So Constance Lang, who often babysat for Judy when Michael was young, when the children were young, they actually told the jury that Judy was actually very embarrassed of Michael, because Michael was born out of wedlock and he also struggled in school and he had emotional problems, and he was also socially awkward, which made Judy very embarrassed. She did not want to have anything to do with Michael because, like, you know, Michael was afraid of everything. He was socially awkward, and like I said, like, he had emotional problems, and again, he was born outside wedlock. But I'm like, sis, like, this part really wants to break my heart. I don't know why it wants to break my heart, because I'm already heartbroken at this point. But like, I'm like, sis, like, I don't get you. Like, nobody opened your legs to have sex before marriage and you got pregnant. I think that's another reason why she didn't want to name the father. But I'm like, how does that even make sense? Like, your son did not force himself to be in this world. Like, you literally hate your son because of what you did, because you gave birth to him outside wedlock. No gun was pointed to your head, hopefully, to have sex and get pregnant, honestly speaking. And if you didn't want to have your child outside wedlock, you should have aborted, because I'm sure with the kind of person she is, she will abort without telling anybody. So I'm like, why do you have to make your son suffer for your own mistake? Like, how does that make sense? If you find that your son is having emotional problems, or he's socially awkward, or he's scared, you as his mom should be there as a driving force to make him see the world in a different perspective. And also, I think that James is a very strong and brave person, because he decided, so I said James, Michael, I think Michael is a very strong and brave person, because he decided to join the army to fight for his people and take over after the footsteps of his father. It's only brave people that decide to join the army, because, like, you don't know when there will be war. Like, who predicted the Ukraine and Russian war? Who? Nobody. So do you understand what I'm trying to say? Like, he was a very strong person, and I just hope that his soul rests in perfect peace, because he didn't deserve anything that happened to him right from when he was a child. Like, this breaks my heart so much. I'm not just saying it, like, it really did break my heart, because, like, I can kind of relate to that. So it kind of breaks my heart so much. And she was just wicked, like wicked, outright wicked. I feel like no matter what you've been through in this life, like, be kind to people, be kind to everybody. Like, yeah, everybody loves money, everybody's looking for money, but it does not mean you have to use the shortcut to get money, taking people's life just to make yourself happy. And all these years, like, I'm sure she had like over like $2 million. So, like, why do you have to keep on killing people just to understand? Like, your own child, like, sis, you're not my sis, but woman, like, what the heck? Anyways, let's continue, because if I start pouring myself out, because I'm emotional. Yeah. So the prosecutor, on the other hand, they were very adamant that the drowning was not accidental, because where the canoe had capsized was secluded, and obviously Judy had waited until she was sure that there would be no witnesses, and then she purposefully dumped Michael's body out of the canoe. Do you understand? So, like, Honestly, like, that's why I'm like, James, him saying that, oh, if a flash, he almost died and then he could not remember anything all of a sudden, that was bull crap. Like, that guy was lying. So Ricky Hicks, who had found Judy and James in the river that day, he testified that he had ferried them to the shore, and when they met up with 13-year-old Kim, like I said earlier, that she didn't even seem surprised at the fact that she did not even see her elder brother Michael. Like, she just acted normally, and this actually threw him back like a little bit, and like it was as if she knew ahead that my brother was not coming back. Like, I just feel that he just felt that way, and it actually did not take the jury long enough to come up with a verdict. So Judith was convicted of all counts, and she was sentenced to life in prison plus 15 years for insurance fraud. I always like when they send them to life imprisonment without the possibility of parole, and then they now like add like with 2 years. I'm like, what is it 2 years for? Because they're already life in prison. But anyways, it makes, so that was like, you guys are trying it at this point. Or when they send somebody to 500 years in prison, I'm like, 500 years, come on. Methuselah, this is a Methuselah. Judy, she barely had time to process what was going on when she was booked for trial again. So this time it was her and her son James that were tried. So James was tried ahead of Judy. So he was charged for attempted murder, and the prosecution, they actually theorized that James was the one who put the bomb in John's car, but like obviously there was no direct proof to link him to this case, so he was actually acquitted of murder. Judy, on the other hand, she would not be as lucky as her son, because she was found guilty and she was sentenced to 12 years in prison. Anyways, on October 2nd, 1985, Judy went on trial for the death of her first husband. And oh my god, during the trial, guys, my neighbor, they are loaning the money. They do this, they are mourning the loan. I don't know, they are cutting grass with the machine, and they do this like almost every time. Like it just irritates me at this point. Anyways, on October 22nd, 1985, Judy was actually tried for the death of her husband James Goodyear. And Judy, she denied any wrongdoing. She couldn't dispute the fact that James had lethal levels of arsenic in his system, but she claimed that she had no idea where the arsenic came from. During her time when they were trying her, Judy, she took the witness stand and she was crying, and she was also crying. This woman, she was also making arrogant, condescending remarks. So she insisted that the arrest that she was like, her arrest was as a result of a witch hunt, and she claimed that she never actually even she actually never tried to poison John Gentry. She told the jury that if indeed that she had given him the poison vitamins, that it was an accident. It was an accident. If she had tried to poison him, that it was an accident. Her one-time best friend actually disputed this, and she testified that there was even a time that she had a problem with her husband at that time, and she told Judy, and Judy was like, I don't know why you're stressing over this. If I'm unhappy in my marriage, I'm going to put in some arsenic into his food and he's going to die. So basically, the friend was looking at her like, sis, but like the friend was like, you know what, I'm not gonna take that route. I'm just going to solve my own problem by getting a divorce. You can do whatever you want to do. And shortly after, Judy's husband died after they had this conversation. So obviously this made the friend look at her like, but then they had actually stopped talking. So like she did not even find it like necessary to bring up the topic any longer, or like to tell anybody. But like obviously she had started looking at Judy in a very suspicious manner. So the prosecutor, they were allowed to present evidence as to how much Judy had collected when her other partners had died, and Judy admitted that she received an insurance payout in each case, but again she actually denied killing any of the victims. And then the jury, they did not believe her. After 10 hours of deliberation, they actually found Judith very guilty of first-degree murder. And as the case moved into the penalty phase, prosecutors actually announced that Judy would receive the death penalty for the killings. So the sentencing actually lasted for about 2 days. So when it was over, the jury, they actually recommended that Judy would be sentenced to death, but like the ultimate fate was in the hands of Judge Emerson, and he was the one that had the final say. He had the authority to go over what the jury had said or what the jury had recommended. And then it took him like 3 hours to study this case, and when he studied this case, he read what the jury had said. He was like, you know what, you're gonna die. You're gonna die. Judy made the last attempt at saving her life. She was telling the judge that she had not killed anybody. She was begging the judge to spare her life. He was not moved by his plea. So on November 5th, 1985, he sentenced Judy to die in the electric chair. That brings me to these serial killers. You guys, they kill people. They don't give people a chance at life. And then when you're being caught and you're sentenced to death, you're crying that they should spare your life. Why are you being selfish? Like, why are you being selfish? Why don't you want to take what you dished out? You literally kill people, cut people short of their life, and when they catch you or when they put you in the same situation, all of a sudden you don't want to die. Why are you scared of dying when you've been killing people? And I don't agree to the death penalty, but sometimes I'm like, you deserve it. Especially the way she died. I'm not heartless, but like the electric chair, I think that was actually a good one for killing her son, killing her husband, her partners, just because of money. Money is the root of all evil, but again, like, I feel like if you don't want to be the root of all evil, you can. Like, do not forget that we've only spoken about Michael, John, and James Goodyear's murder or prosecution. We've not brought about Bobby. So prosecutors in Colorado, they were like, you know what, it's time for us to bring Judy to trial. So, but they opted not to because she had already received the death penalty back in Florida. Again, Florida don't joke. Florida and Texas, they don't joke when it comes to like prosecuting people or putting people in death penalty. That's what I've noticed. Especially Texas. I don't know, like that town, that city or that state is so scary. Like the governor, their mayor don't care. Like if you're boom, do you understand? Like they literally don't care. Like there's even this case, I think, that the guy did not kill. I've forgotten his name. He was accused of killing his children and burning them. But like I feel like he did not, and even his wife believed that he did not, but I don't know. Later on, the wife went behind his back, blah 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 blah, things like that. But like it's just so scary because you're like, if Judy was able to successfully appeal her case in Florida, Colorado was like, you know what, we are going to try her for Bobby's murder because like he died in Colorado, so she's received the death penalty. Yeah, fine, cool, she's received it. If she appeals her case, she's not going to be left off the hook because she's gonna face us. Literally, that's what they said. So because of those statute of limitation, they decided to just, you know, put Bobby's case like down on the deal because sis was already gonna die. But this woman, she was so confident. She was confident that she was not going to get the death penalty. She was confident that it was going to get reversed because like that was going to be the first time in 100 years that a woman was going to get persecuted. So she appealed the case so many times and every time she appealed it, they were like, sis, this is not gonna work. She kept saying that she's innocent, that the jury in the 3 trials, they were misled by the lies of the prosecutors. According to her, she was like, she was the victim of defamation and assassination of character because the prosecutors, they portrayed her as a black widow and a vile monster, and she was like, she's not any of this. But like I said, like years went by, and each court that she tried to like appeal her case, they actually turned her down, and they were like, you know what, you're gonna die, sis. You're going to die. You're dying with the electric chair. That's how you're gonna die. Her execution date was set for March 30th, 1998, And though this was the third time the governor had signed her death warrant, she actually seems to sense that this would actually be the final one. So Sis told a reporter that she was actually tired of fighting and tired of life in jail. She also said that even though she claimed to be innocent, that she actually did not want to die, but obviously there's nothing that she could have done. That year in 1998, in February, there was a woman that was put to death. Her name was Carla Faye Tucker, and before then, no woman has been put to death in the United States since 1984. Why did I say in 100 years? Why did I say in 100 years? So the news about Carla's murder was kind of a wake-up call to Judy, as she realized that gender was not going to be a barrier here, and sis knew that she was going to die by the electric chair. I think before Carla was executed, she was like she wanted to be born again. So like Carla, Judith actually claimed to be born again. So Judy's case actually attracted a fraction of the attention of Carla's case, and because she refused to admit any guilt and had no remorse for what had taken place. So but sis gave her life to Christ, cool, but sis was still denying she killed them. Girl, you're still lying. If you give me your life to Christ fully, why are you denying that you killed them when you know you killed them? You're still lying. Why are you picking your sins? Why are you picking your fucking sins? Why are you picking your sins? Anyway, so she gave her life to Christ. So let's not forget Kim, Judy's daughter, which is a total bull crap. She annoys me. So anyways, she actually insisted that her mother was innocent and did not deserve to die. But you see, as they were putting all these appeals, and when they saw that it was getting like overturned and everything, sis was like, you know what, now let us not even concentrate on the fact that you're going to die. Let's concentrate on the means of execution, if that makes sense. So let's not forget she's meant to be executed by electric chair. So this daughter was like, okay, you guys, I accept the fact, I accept fate that you guys want to kill my mom, cool, but please, can you guys kill her via lethal injection? And she's not going to feel anything, because if you kill her by the electric chair, it's going to be so bad. So prior to that, there was someone who was sentenced to death by the electric chair, and when they put this stuff, when they sat into the chair and, you know, held his hand and everything, and then they tied they put the stuff over his head, the what they call it, the mask they put over his head caught fire, and nobody had known if he was still alive when his head caught fire, which was cruel. Do you understand? And she wrote to the state, she was like, you guys should use this case as an example, because it's an inhuman means of taking someone out or killing somebody. And then they wrote back to her, they were like, they told her, sis, your mom is not going to be caught on fire, because what actually happened was a human error and it was not a technical fault or anything. So obviously they refused to overturn the means of her death. So 2 weeks before her execution date, Judy had actually agreed to be interviewed by a local news reporter named Sue Stockholm. I really don't know how to pronounce the name. I'm very sorry for butchering the name. So the two, they had actually known each other before Judy was sent to jail. So basically, Sue used to go to Judy's nail salon because she was a regular customer. She used to go to Judy's nail salon and do her nails and her hair. And she told Sue that she's actually tired of fighting for her life and she was ready to go home to Jesus. And despite this, she and her lawyers were still actively searching for a way to, you know, delay her execution date. So she still denied killing anybody. She denied killing anybody, and she said that she wanted her name to be cleared because she was running out of time. But you want to go back to Jesus, you're giving your life to Christ, and you're still lying, like, sis. So on March 30th, 1998, time had actually run out for Judy Buenoano, and at this time she was 54 years old. So her execution was actually scheduled to take place by 7 a.m. that following day, and there would be no last minute retraction or whatever. She spent the night before visiting her children, her cousins, and her spiritual advisor. She prayed with them, and she was like that she was not afraid to die and everything. So around 4 a.m. the prison officials, they had actually brought her last meal for her. So for her last meal, she had requested fresh strawberries, steamed broccoli and asparagus with hot tea to take as her last meal. Sis went vegan to meet the Lord. Anyways, Judy was led into the execution chamber at 7 a.m. and she looked frail, she looked terrified. She clutched her hands on her guards like very tightly, and for a few seconds it seemed as if she was going to have to carry her final few steps to the electric chair. Her hand had been completely shaved and covered in gel to, like, you know, conduct electricity better, and her skin, they actually looked so pale. She kept her eyes shut, and as they were strapping her to the electric chair, and she told the guards that she didn't want to make any last statement because they had asked her if she had any last statement. She was like she had no last statement, and within minutes it was over. There was no fire and just a small amount of smoke, and from the electrode attached to like one of her legs, and she was pronounced dead at 7:13 a.m. So yeah, guys, like, what do you guys think about this case? I definitely think that she killed all those people, like, all of a sudden. But like, my own is like, these serial killers, they go around killing people, but when it's time for them to die, when they're being caught and it's time for them to die, they refuse to die, they don't want to die. Why are you scared of death and you didn't give another person a chance to life? Like, explain. Anyways, guys, let me know how this case went for you. Yeah, I just hope you guys really enjoyed this. I really enjoyed telling this one and really enjoyed researching this case. I am so glad that I got to do this. So let me know, guys, what you guys think about this case. Do you think she did it? Do you think she did not do it? And thank you guys so much for the love on the last video. Like, I had like 40 something views, which I did not expect, because like I didn't expect. I thought I was going to have like, you know, 3-4 views. When I saw 40 something, I was like, oh my god, like and it made me so happy and so motivated to come and put out more videos. Thank you guys so much. Please let's watch to the end. Thank you. And if you're not subscribed to my channel, can you subscribe to my channel? I really appreciate it. Like this video, and I'm going to see you guys next week. I love you guys so much. I love you guys. I smudged my lip gloss. I love you guys so much, and see you guys next week, because I think this is going to be a weekly thing. Because yeah, I'm so excited to be back. Like, I'm so excited. Thank you guys so much, and I love you guys, and I've said that 100 times. Until next time, bye.